Is Accounting 1, Chapter 11, Lesson 2. In this lesson, we're going to be posting to the accounts receivable ledger, just like we did in Lesson 1, where we were posting to the accounts payable ledger. Accounts receivable is whenever our customers have come in and they have charged things that they want to pay later. The first thing we have to do is to number our accounts, just like we did with our accounts payable. The numbering system works like this. Over here we have our accounts receivable. These are the people who buy from us. We have our ledger that holds each individual page. We want those pages so that we can easily look to, say, Fairview Church and see how much they owe us on any given date. So if they come in to pay, we know how much to tell them that they owe. If you add up all the subsidiary ledgers, which is each ledger for each individual person, and you add that total should be the same balance as your accounts receivable account, which is your controlling account. So this is just a breakdown of your accounts receivable into each individual page. When you are numbering, we are going to number just like we did. You have 3 numbers is what we're going to use for our accounting for Hobby Shack. The first number shows the controlling account is accounts receivable. So because everything starts with a 1, that means it is an accounts receivable ledger. The second and third digit, for example, Country Crafters has a 10. That is just going to be assigned to them. You are going to want to try and keep these in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with 110, 120, 130. If we had a new customer come in and want to start charging, and they would have to be alphabetized between Country Crafters and Cumberland Center, we would number them with 115. When we are looking at the ledgers, when the balance for a customer account changes, what also is going to change is the balance in the accounts receivable account. So the total of all the customer account balances in the accounts receivable ledgers is going to equal the balance of the accounts receivable account. What you're looking at now is the accounts receivable ledger form that we're going to use. Hobby Shack uses a 3-column accounts receivable form. So we have a debit, a credit, and a debit balance. We do not have a credit balance column because typically there should never be a credit balance. Unless someone has overpaid us, they would not have a credit balance. If they did overpay, we would just show that by putting parentheses around their debit balance to show that it was a negative amount. Every account is going to have their own ledger paper. So here you can see one for Cumberland Center, and you can see that they are account number 120. So on your worksheets, you're going to go ahead and open that ledger for Cumberland Center. To open it, all you have to do is put in the customer name and the customer number. That now means that that ledger is officially open, and we will start expecting charges from that customer. Next, we need to post from the sales journal to the accounts receivable ledger. When we are dealing with our sales journal like we did in the last chapter, remember that there is a special column for accounts receivable debit. So a sales journal, the only time we use that was whenever a customer bought something on account or charged it. So it looks like on November the 3rd, the Village Craft come in. They charged $572.40. $540 of that was for the sales item, and $32.40 was for the sales tax. Right now we're just posting the accounts receivable debit. This is how much their total was, and this is how much they owe us. So to take this down to their ledger, first of all, we find their ledger page. We're going to go ahead and write the date, and you are doing this in your worksheets. The date was the 3rd. Next, we're going to write the sales journal page number. So up here, it's a sales journal, so it starts with an S, and it's page 11. So come down here to your post reference, put S11. We want to make sure we do this so that if we ever have a question, if Village Crafts comes in and says, hey, why do I owe this? I don't know where this is coming from. You can go back and go, oh, well, I'll look at sales journal page 11 and see if maybe we wrote this number wrong or something. The third step is you want to write the debit amount. This is just copying straight from the accounts receivable debit column in the sales journal down to the debit column on your ledger page. And the fourth step is to find the new balance. We need an up-to-date balance. Again, just like we did yesterday, if you have two like items, you add. If they're opposite, you subtract. So where we had a debit balance, now we have a new debit amount, so we add those two together to get the new balance of $890.40. You can double check that in your mind by thinking, okay, Village Crafts owed us $318. Then they came in and charged some more stuff to us. Do they owe us more or do they owe us less? Well, they owe us more money, so we, of course, had to add that. On your worksheet, I think the question says each entry in the sales journal's accounts receivable debit column is posted to the accounts receivable ledger. So everything up here in this accounts receivable debit column will be posted down here into the accounts receivable ledger for that customer. The next journal we worked with is the cash receipts journal. And so now we have to post from the cash receipts to the individual ledgers. Every entry in this accounts receivable credit column is going to affect the customer named in the account title column over here. So this time, this is cash receipts. That means we took in money. So it looks like Fairview Church came in and they paid us $381.60. They wrote us a check or gave us cash for that, so we put it in our cash debit, and we put it in the accounts receivable credit because they want that taken off their ledger or taken off their bill so that it looks like they have paid that amount. So that's what we're going to do this time, is just post this information to their ledger. Find their ledger. We're going to write the date, which is the 15th. Come down here. We don't have to write November because November has already been written. Second step, where did the information come from? It came from the cash receipts journal, page 11, so it is CR 11. We're going to write the credit amount. This comes out of accounts receivable credit. So we come down to the credit column and put the same exact amount, $381.60. Finally, we have to find our new balance. So how much money does Fairview Church owe us? We had a debit of $381.60, or sorry, we had a debit of $2,289.60. Now we have a credit of $381.60. So a debit and a credit are opposite, so we're going to subtract. It gives them a remaining balance of $1,908. Again, you can double check this in your mind. Okay, they owed us $2,000. They came in, they paid us $381. Does the amount they owe us go up or down? Well, they owe us less because they paid one of their bills. You will find that typically whenever a customer pays, they will pay for one of your line items on your ledger sheet. Here they paid for $381.60, which was their beginning balance. If you looked back at the previous ledger page, you would probably find an S, maybe page 10, that shows that they had charged $381. So they charged this in October. They need to pay it by the 15th of November, so here's where they paid it. This amount that they charged on November the 5th will not be due until December the 15th. So that's the way that's working. We do want to go back up and write the customer number 130 back up here into our post reference on our cash receipts journal Two reasons again why we do that. One, in case we have a question of where that information went, we can go to ledger page 130 and find it. And two, if we stop in the middle to do something else or get distracted, we know exactly where we left off. So be sure you put in the post reference numbers as you work through the problems. The next journal we had was the general journal. So remember, the general journal can have all kinds of miscellaneous things in it. If it did not have a special journal, this is where it went. A lot of times we're going to be working with, for the accounts receivable information, we're dealing with sales returns. So this one, it looks like Village Crafts had charged something to us, or had charged something, and now they've come in and maybe returned $58.50 of it, plus a $3.51 credit. So we add those two together. The total between the sales, between the item and the sales tax was $62.01, so that's what they expect to have taken off of their bill. That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to start with the date, the 11th. The 11th, we don't have to write the month because we're already in that month. Next, we're going to write where did the information come from. This is a general journal, so it's a G, page 11, so G11 comes down here to the post reference. We are only dealing with the accounts receivable Village Craft. So Village Craft is the one we're doing right now. We are doing sales tax returns and allowance and sales tax payable. Typically, if you're an accountant, you would do these all in order, but this is the one we're focusing on learning how to do right now. So we're just focused on Village Crafts. So we're going to come over here. Village Crafts has a $62.01 credit. So we bring that down here to the credit section. 6201 credit, 6201 credit. We had a previous debit balance. So we had a debit, now we have a credit. What are we going to do? Add or subtract? Right, we're going to subtract because a debit and a credit are opposite. So we subtract those to get the new balance of $3,377.69. Again, check this in your head. They owed us $3,439. They returned $62. Of course, they owe us less now. And finally, your final step, there's that number coming down. There's the subtraction. We need to go back up and write our customer number 150. It's going to go on the bottom half of that little slash because we're just posting to Village Crafts. The accounts receivable number would go up here on the top half of that little slash. Okay, when you're done, your ledger pages will look like this. This is the same information that you can see on page 312 of your book. When we have all of these done at the end of the month, we want to make sure that everything matches, that we've done everything right, because we don't want to have an unhappy customer. So what we're going to do is fill out our schedule of accounts. And here we see the schedule of accounts. Just like we had a schedule of accounts payable, this is our schedule of accounts receivable. Very simple to do. We are going to go through and just list in here from the ledgers. So these ledgers, we had Country Crafters, had a balance of $1,222.18. Come over here, write Country Crafters, $1,222.18. We're just going to list all of our accounts that have a balance. If there is an account that has a zero balance, you do not have to list them here. So only list those that owe us money. We're going to add that up, $9,006.05. If I was to go back and add up all of these balances, that should equal the same amount of money. That's also going to equal the same amount of money that is shown on just my accounts receivable account. So that number, you're able to check at two different places. When we total, we do the total accounts receivable. We draw our lines to rule it. And at the top for the header, we have the name of our company. Then we have schedule of accounts receivable, and we have the date this is prepared. So for your homework, you are going to do work together 10-2 On your own, 10-2, and application problem 10-2. You're going to need that so that you will be able to complete the rest of them. Okay, so some of the things we went over. Schedule of accounts receivable. What was a schedule of accounts receivable? If you don't know that, go ahead and look it up. Make sure you know. It should be in your notes.